In true corporate fashion, Hasbro has ruined Magic the Gathering. They're selling us $1,000 packs of proxies to celebrate the 30th anniversary. Nobody can keep up with the massive amounts of new set releases and products. And soon, we'll be seeing Liliana, Spider-Man, and Cloud occupying space in standard decks all together. Even the Magic IP sets are all race cars and 80s movies. I know the employees at WotC care a lot about this game and work very hard on it. But it is evident that Hasbro has fully taken over and is prioritizing shareholder interest over what the existing player base wants. Growing to new markets is what matters now. But here's the thing. Magic belongs to all of us. Elder Dragon Highlander, the most popular format in Magic history, wasn't even created by Wizards of the Coast. Even though they took it over, never compensated the creators, rebranded it to Commander, and now fully control it, EDH was born from players who wanted to enjoy the game on their own terms. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. Hey, I'm Clint, and I've been playing Magic the Gathering for 30 years. And today, I'll show you how we can reclaim the game we love. Using the game design framework I've been teaching on this channel, I'll guide you through creating your own formats that truly resonate with your playgroup. This video is special because we're putting theory into practice. I'm applying the same step-by-step process I've shared for creating card games to something I'm deeply passionate about, shaping Magic into a game I want it to be. No corporate agenda, just pure player-driven innovation. I started with goals centered around my playgroup and what we enjoy about Magic. Number 1, make drafting and metagame the heart of the experience. Number 2, keep games quick and accessible. And number 3, eliminate mana screw by making resources a conscious choice. I wanted to make a format where draft and gameplay were more closely linked. What I settled on was a format where resource management happens in the draft, rather than through random draws. And the best part? You could finish one tournament in the same time of a game of Commander. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to Magic, stick around. You're about to see how we can tailor this beloved game to fit to our personal preferences, creating an experience that's both familiar and refreshingly new. You know, this isn't my first attempt at making something like this. 10 years ago, I tried to build a standalone game that made drafting the core experience. It was a football game where you draft your players and build your playbook. But I ran into a wall. The mechanics were just too novel. Not just for my game design skills at the time, but for anyone's understanding of how a game like this should operate. Having players learn new gameplay, and a new tournament structure, and a new economic system, it was too much. But that experience taught me something valuable. Looking at it through my framework now, I can see why Magic is the perfect foundation for these ideas. Instead of teaching players everything from scratch, we can build on what they already know. Magic players already understand the core gameplay and drafting. This lets me focus on the innovative parts, the resource system, the meta development, without overwhelming players with too many new concepts at once. Then recently, I saw Ryan Sachs, a popular Magic writer working on an auto battler format that had some similar DNA to what I had tried years ago. When I listened to him on the Lucky Paper Radio podcast discussing his ideas, it clicked. There's a real appetite for a format like this. This is where my process really helped me focus. I knew I was starting with rules first, and I knew what parts of Magic I wanted to change and which parts could stay as is. If I took 2 Magic formats that already met some of my goals, Rochester Draft, where all the cards are face up and create this awesome interactive meta, and Omniscience Draft, where you cast everything for free and the games are fast and fun. From that, the first version of Buy-in Battle was born. Combining Omniscience gameplay with a draft where you have to buy your picks, you only pay for a spell once when you draft it. After that, it's free to cast for the rest of the tournament. No more mana screw or flood. I've removed all the boring setup in the first few turns of a game of Magic. The game arc takes place over an entire event, not like a normal draft with a few loosely connected phases. You start small. Maybe you can only afford that 2-drop in your early picks. But as the tournament progresses, you're upgrading your deck, making bigger plays, and acquiring those game-ending bombs. And because everything's face up, this amazing metagame develops right at the table. You'll hear things like, "Did you see Clint's combo deck just steamroll the whole pod? I'm definitely buying this counterspell." The whole table's talking strategy, making adjustments, trying to answer the deck to beat. It's all the strategic depth of tournament Magic compressed into a single sitting. If you've played Vintage Cube, you're familiar with that exhilarating moment when you slam down a Black Lotus on turn 1 and empty your hand. It's thrilling, but it can lead to some pretty unbalanced games. Recently, players are prioritizing free interaction like Force of Will and Snuff Out just to keep pace with the format's explosive nature. When everyone has the Omniscience emblem in play, we embrace this high-powered gameplay and push it to the extreme while eliminating lands and fast mana rocks from our cube. Here's the specifics. So you start with an Omniscience emblem in play, making every spell free to cast. Your starting hand is only 3 cards, and you don't lose the game for running out of cards. These simple changes create a dramatically different gameplay experience that captures the excitement of Vintage Cube's most explosive moments, but equally for every player at the table. When designing a card game or format, it's important to find what players enjoy and maximize it. So instead of using picks on moxes, we bake fast mana right into the rule set. Now let me explain the draft and how it differs from a normal draft you're used to. Instead of cracking packs and passing them around, you've got a sheer pool of face-up cards like a market to pick from. However, you have to pay for your picks with the income you get every turn. You start off getting 2 treasure tokens a turn. Then there are some special cards that you add into the pack. Want to improve your economy? There's a card for that. Need more picks? There's a card for that too. This keeps the core picking mechanic that players already understand while making the format naturally expandable. Future special card designs can introduce new draft actions without complicating the base rules. Every turn you're faced with interesting choices. Do you increase your economy to afford bigger spells later? Add more picks to your turn so you can grab multiple cards? Or do you commit to buying that perfect card for your strategy right now? There's also a stealing mechanic that lets you grab a random card for free. It makes sure players can always add cards to their deck and can help clear out cards others can't afford, but without the feel-bad moment of directly hate drafting a card that someone wants. The other big difference here is that there are multiple rounds of draft. Players will draft, play one game, and go back to the draft again. So decks start off weak and will increase in power over the tournament. They'll continue alternating between draft and playing games until one player gets 5 wins. Let's talk about your deck structure. While a normal draft deck needs 23 spells and 17 lands to function, we're building a focused 10-card deck of pure action. Every card in your deck matters because there are no lands to draw, just the spells you want to cast. This also directly supports the goal of an interactive metagame. With only 10 cards in each person's deck, it's much easier to wrap your head around what everyone else at the table is playing, and how you need to craft your strategy to respond. And since at the beginning of the tournament, you only get a few picks before your first game, you always have access to unlimited Mem Nights to ensure that you have the minimum 10 cards in your deck. Let's talk about some key strategic elements when building your deck. Card draw is absolutely huge in this format, since every spell is free to cast. Drawing cards lets you keep the pressure on with fresh spells. But this creates a fascinating ripple effect in the meta. When card draw is powerful, you need counter magic to stop those engines from running away with the game. But then players start prioritizing uncounterable threats, which leads to a need for efficient removal. You're planning for this intricate dance of threats and answers, card advantage and interaction, and because you can see what everyone's drafting, you get to make real-time decisions about whether to shore up your weaknesses or double down on your strengths. Now I should mention this format is still in development. Game design is iterative, and I've put the current cube list and rule set in the description below. They'll continue to evolve with testing and feedback, but what I'm sharing today is the core design philosophy, the foundation we'll build on together. Now that I've explained the vision of the format, that gives you a frame for your feedback. Once you try it, does the gameplay truly meet the goals that I set out? Or is there a better way to do it? My background is in user experience design, so I'm a big proponent of knowing your audience. I've tailored this format to appeal to the explorers and innovators in the Magic community. The people who like tweaking the game and playing custom rules cubes. It's also great if you're someone who loves cube draft, but can't always get 8 players together for 4 hours. Or you get excited about solving an evolving meta instead of net decking. The cube list and rules are in the description below, and there are several ways you can try it out. I've built an online table for digital playtesting. Drop a comment if you're interested in trying it out, and I'll get a group together to play it. The link to the table is in the description if you want to test it with your own playgroup. And if you're in the Atlanta metro area, I've got it built in paper too. Let me know in the comments what you think about the format, or if you've got your own custom rules cubes. And hey, if you've been intrigued by how this format came together, check out my game design framework series on this channel. You'll see exactly how these principles can help you create your own games. Let's make Magic even better together.